we're diverse, we think we have equality, but is that really true?
The irony is that a lot of people will probably think that women are the more malleable of the sexes. But I honestly believe that if a woman really believes in a cause, she will fight for it to the death.
I'm not this kind of person who knew I wanted to be an architect when I was 4 years old, so I decided to become a doctor instead. So I started in medical school. And then I actually dropped out, and then I thought maybe architecture is good at collecting everything, like both natural sciences and society and art. So then I entered architecture school, and I kind of found my place there. But it was quite late that I found out that architecture would be the right thing for me. I'm a very lazy person if I'm not interested in what I'm doing. To keep the motivation, I need to do something that I'm curious about. The more I got into the business, the more I understood that female architects were looked upon as like a rare species or like an interesting animal in the zoo. And that women were not taken seriously as equal parts of discussion of architecture. I don't think it has to do with color and race and religion and gender alone. I think it has to do very much with power and with the underlying issues of bias.
Growing up in Lagos, Nigeria. I grew up in 1980s Lagos. Nigeria at the time was under a military government. There were quite a lot of sanctions. There were concerns with security. There was an economic recession. And I remember as a child being very distant from everything else that was outside. And we would see a few things on television, images of some toys we knew we never got to play with because you couldn't buy them in our environment. What that period of growing up in Lagos taught me and has stayed with me is this idea of creating and being innovative. We made all our toys. When you think about a child's imagination, you know, the possibilities are endless, even though the object might seem quite mundane. The ability to be able to understand the innovations that can happen when you are constrained, those are precious and they form your value system as a person. Lagos has given me that, and it still allowed me to continue to thrive. I wouldn't leave. At 16 and a half, I moved to the United Kingdom, initially to study my A-levels and then on to study architecture at university. London helped me to understand my context, to understand my city, to understand my culture, and to find ways to eventually start to propagate or replicate this within space. It's always been architecture. I was always very interested in space as a child.
What we did with the Waddensee Center was we went into collaboration with a couple of thatchers to understand exactly how to work with the wheat, because it's about the history of the place, it's about the landscape. Architecture is art, but it's also an art where the frames are created beforehand. It's actually the physical surroundings and it's society, the human existence that is already there. So you need to work within that.
I would always situate myself as the individual in the space. What would I see? What would I smell? What would I touch? How would I feel? And that's really formed the basis of how I've become the designer and an architect.
I've always been very curious and I've always wanted to experiment with materials. How do you construct buildings and spaces that are facilitating both community but also basic spatial needs?
It was very important to us to create the illusion of space, and we were able to do that by ensuring we had very high ceilings and large windows to allow a lot of natural lighting. I think this coast of West Africa is terribly special and very much forms a lot of my early childhood memories. I associate the rising of the sun and setting of the sun with the Lagos beach. And then you sit there and you think at how many people left this coast hundreds of years ago along the Atlantic slave route. How many souls have passed through this water? It's when you think about this on that scale, it's so powerful.
Discovering this place the first time was a real moment for me because there's the sense of distance, of eternity somehow. Nature is still larger than you are. My personal motivation is not so much about making objects. It's not so much about expressing myself as an architect as it is trying to understand where I am and what I can give back to that. One of the goals when you do architecture is to create moments that has emotional importance. When we did the first sketches, it was extremely important to us to have a relationship to nature. It's more about movement and being a tool or a skeleton of an animal than being a real building.
A very important part of Lagos life is the marketplace. And Lagos is a port city. Lagos has always been about trade. These are places of convergence, and the markets are always championed by women and led by women.
They cut it.
When women are involved in causes, there's always more cause for inclusivity, because a woman will think about her children, she will think about her husband, she will think about her relatives. That diversity that women bring is quite powerful, because a woman will think much further beyond herself.
Nej, de var blå. De var blå. Blå.
If you want to have a diversity, you need to plan also for the less resourceful, and that has to do with economy.
Nå, på deres regning.
We need to try to understand how to build a qualitative architecture less expensive.
It's very tough. I know for a fact if my firm is going against a project, they probably will subconsciously think to pay me less because I'm the person facing as a woman.
By underlining female architects as female architects, you are also not expecting them to be serious part of the main discussion of the male discussion, right? To me, it was never really about making something big, but it was also about proving myself, proving that as a woman, yes, I can do serious stuff.
The most important thing is, with all the odds faced against you, is ensuring that when you do a job that you deliver. I think the excitement of knowing you're creating something, it's like baking a cake. That passion of being in the space at the end, the love of, the excitement of conceiving something and then seeing the finished entity. Considering how stressful the city can be, we have a lot of people who are genuinely very optimistic.
My father studied tropical architecture at the Architectural Association in England. He designed the whole street for the University of Lagos professors. It's all gone. And it was all overlooking the water. And in the 80s, Jack-One-Day, a politician, decided to landfill the whole area. It's very sad, honestly. The rich are getting richer, and the divide, but it's very extreme here, but it's still, I think it's a global phenomenon.
The sad thing about having the disparity very much in your visibility and in your presence daily is it makes you almost immune to it, because it becomes a normal.
Otherwise it will break you.
Yeah. I know it's not perfect, but nowhere is. But this is the place of my childhood memories.
Yeah.
It's where my family lives. It's where I had my first friends.
Yeah.
It matters.
How was it to become a mother? It's like you expect something and it's different. To me, it was quite amazing because I wasn't planning. Suddenly you're not the most important person in the world, and somebody else is. I think that's a powerful thing. It's a very empowering thing.
I think children are a very important part of life because children give purpose. In my case, my daughter was very centering. I understood the importance of being a breadwinner. I understood the importance of creating a stable, safe environment for my daughter.
Now that she's an adult, she's the person that can criticize me in the best way. And I really respect her, so she can tell me stuff that I really have to reflect on and say, okay, maybe I need to change my ways here, you know? Being a single mom, nobody should say that your child was not taken care of. So you wanted to make the most nice, organic, homemade cake for every birthday, etc., right? Which is kind of a pressure you put on yourself. And I think that's the most stupid thing to do. Children do not care about perfect organic cakes. It's about being present and respectful to your child, and not perfect.
It's nice to be a mother. It's great to have someone who is reliant on you, but it's also nice to have something for yourself. The reality is, for any working mother, it's only possible if you have a very strong support network to sustain that. In my case, I'm very fortunate to have a mother who's been able to take on a lot of the roles that I've not been able to handle. Architecture is a very time-consuming profession. The reality is, children are only young for so long, and if you miss your window to be involved, you miss it forever. How do you ensure that you are present for those special moments that you see in your child's life, and also to be present, to be involved in the project that is so valuable to you as a professional?
Suddenly, when you get a child, the equality is challenged because you have expectations for yourself. People in the surroundings have expectations, and they will always be kind of critical. You know, when you're a female, they will say, are you really a good mom? Or maybe you're not a good architect because you're a mom. I was in the middle of really starting up the office and getting jobs, so I was just working a lot. So I would, get up really early in the morning and work before she would wake up. And then suddenly 2008 came, and there was an immediate crisis, and I almost went bankrupt at that time. And I was alone with my daughter because her father had passed away, so it was very stressful. So I sold my house and got the economy sorted out, and then slowly building up the office again. Took quite a while, so there was a time where I was kind of wondering, should I continue, or it's too tough, to keep on fighting. So yeah, I'm a quite stubborn person, I guess, which is good and bad, of course. But the stubbornness also helps you keep on going when times get tough.
I feel very fortunate to be part of this movement that is about our diversities. This particular generation, is so important that we empower them with education so that they can achieve it. I believe life is about a pyramid. I've added my slot, someone's gonna come and put something on top.
As an architect, you need to be pointing in a direction where you think the world should go. Architecture is about caring. I mean, it's caring about the place you're at. It's caring about the people going to be using your buildings, but it's also caring about what happens in this place in 100 years and how did I affect that.
Woman who wants to study architecture, my advice to them would be to follow your dreams. It will be tough. Be prepared. It's a long journey, but it's a valuable journey. And it's a journey that does reap reward at the end.
Don't let others decide your goals, right? Reaching for the stars or becoming famous, it's not so important, but the most important is that you realized what you find important, right?